Good evening, this is Kelly Borsheim, and I want to show you how I'm going to set up my newest still life composition. So stay tuned and let's play with this. I think in an earlier short video that I posted on my YouTube channel is I bought this candle holder at an antique market, and I thought it's so unusual that I wanted to do something with it. I love the wax dripping onto this, and I put a beeswax candle in there. And I had to put some paper into it because it wouldn't hold, it's not going to hold up straight. So I'll probably light it at some point, but first I want to figure out what height I want the candle. Now one thing, I put it on a brick riser, but I'm not sure if I want that or not yet. So one thing I wanted to point out here is proportion, because I tend to like asymmetrical stuff. So if I'm looking at the length of this, 22 centimeters, and I come down to this section here, 23, 24 to get to this point, and maybe if I include that little bar there, they're just a little bit too equal in my point of view. But for right now, I'm not going to worry about that. Let me just set that straight on there. So I've got this wood here. My neighbor Genevieve, my Italian mama, gave me this pumpkin, and I really like this little thing here coming off. It's already dried a couple of days, so it's started to shrivel, which is another reason I need to hurry up and get to it. But I love these little curly things hanging off of it. Can you see that? Okay, so I had this green cloth that I actually had sitting over a piano to keep it dust-free a little bit. But I like the dangle stuff on it. Now, and then I found this, that the storms over near right in front of my house, actually it's been raining for a long time, have blown off some of the weaker limbs. So I've got this, but I love the little acorn things. I did a sculpture called I Am You many years ago. It's a bronze. It has acorns on it because for me the oak tree is a sacred tree. So anyway, this is too much greenery, but I love how bright green it is with this orange, and that there's green inside here, so it just seemed like a good complement. But I'm going to play with this because right now I feel like it's too much competition for the star of the show. So in today's video I want to talk about how I'm going to compose this and how I'm going to light it and all that sort of thing. So I have my basic objects here, and I want to look at the different heights and the proportion. I want to maybe see if I can tell a story, but I prefer to paint on wood. So this is a board I had prepared many years ago, or actually it has the gesso bear on it already, I think. It's beveled at the edges here, which makes it slip into a frame easily. But the thing is, I don't have a board large enough. And personally, I really, really love the oblong, thin, really long, tall, thin kind of things. So this piece is not going to work here, and it's also way small. Now, if I'm going to do sight size, I need to set this up perfectly so that where the canvas is here, it's probably about 2/3 or something. I can't remember what the rule is. But you set it up so that you basically go, okay, horizontal, 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 horizontal. It's kind of, sight size is a bit of a drawing aid. It's useful, but I'm kind of in this phase where I'm going back and forth between realism and trying to make something designed. And that means if I'm going to design it, I don't want to copy exactly what's here. I want to sort of just kind of go. So I'm going to see if I can do that on this painting and still keep that feeling of awe of having a really well done still life. So I don't know if I can, but I want to keep learning something new on every piece that I do. So anyway, to get back to that, I went through my stretcher bars that I have, and I have a bunch of these that are long and narrow, so I thought, well, let me see what's going on here. So I have this one. I don't like it because I think the artist that had this before me, because a lot of times I get rejects from other people, there are these little pins sticking out. I have a feeling they're thumbtacks that were stuck on the canvas, and the canvas later just ripped off and the heads popped off, but I'm going to have to pull all these out with the pliers. But I'm looking at this now. If I have, one of the things you try to do in this traditional still life thing is to have dimensions kind of going. And I really like the tenebrism where it's light emerging from darkness. So the thing is, you want something to sort of come forward, like these dropping off. It gives that feeling of depth and weight. So if I have something coming off, I need some space down here for this. So let me put this down there. And I can see that my candle is way up higher, so maybe this proportion is not going to be tall enough. I have these two. I mean, either horizontal or vertical. I love the proportions of this. Now, oh, let me tell you a nifty-difty trick. If you want to know if two rectangles are the same proportion, meaning like an 8 by 10 and a 16 by 20, those are the same proportion, you multiply by 2, all right? But if you just want to not deal with the math of it, I mean, it's still math, let's face it, but if you don't want to deal with the numbers and having to calculate and stuff, you can just take something, a straight edge of any kind, I just happen to have this stick, put both corners together in the one edge here. And of course this is an obvious thing because you can see this is short and fatter and this is tall and slender. But if you put a diagonal from one to the other, maybe this would work better with this one. If the diagonal runs through the opposite corner in the same place, then the two pieces are the same proportion. Maybe this is a better example. So let's do it this way. Okay, because this is obviously a shorter piece, but is it the same proportion? And you stick the diagonal through, and you go, no, because it goes, this line crosses through right here instead of right at the corner. So because it does that, that tells me that this is a wider, proportionately wider thing. It's not necessarily a deal breaker on anything at all, but it's if you're trying to copy something or enlarge something and you need a specific proportion, or even if you've got a commission and you don't know, do I want to proportion this way or do I want it, it depends on your size of your wall. But so I have this one as a longer one. If I stick this right up in front here, let's say I'm doing 100% size, that gives me a lot of room down here, gives me room for the fire. Now, if I put the fire right about here, it might be too close. Like, for example, where's this one? Maybe if I had this one, if I leave enough room down here, you don't want this to be too high or too low either. There's a mathematical balance that works well with your brain. I tend to eyeball it, but I tend to think you know when something is just, you don't want to show this much dark, but you could. I could totally make the composition be the apple and male and then have really long. But do you see how I've put it off center here? That is actually kind of an interesting thing, and maybe I could do a second idea with that, assuming the pumpkin lasts that long. These are probably, the oak leaves are, and the nuts, anyway, the whole thing is probably going to turn brown before that pumpkin's going to go bad, because the pumpkin was just harvested the other day. So anyway, I could take all that out and make a totally new thing. I could even remove the candle holder and just have this little simple thing and all this dark space. And now I'm thinking about that. That might be a really cool idea to do. So another one. But anyway, I wouldn't want to do the same setup here, even if it's a different crop, because I want to do different things every time. And maybe, let's see, that was this is the longer one. I kind of like the fact that this is longer and thinner. Now, you can't see from that point of view, but this might actually work better. So let me put this on the easel. Now, one of the reasons I decided to figure out right away the size of my artwork is because I need to figure out where this easel is, because I have a ceiling up here, the roof actually, it's up. This is a bar of chestnut wood. I don't know if you can see that in this video, but I'll take a picture of it and install that here. This is a gorgeous piece of wood. It's a long beam that holds up the roof. I don't want to damage this piece. I'm in a rented house, first of all, but also, even if it were my house, I wouldn't want a bunch of nail holes in here just because I'm setting up these weird little random things. These are also chestnut beams here, and then I have bricks. Brick tiles are up here, and then the roof does its thing. But I want a directional light coming in here. I don't want anything too close to the face, because that flattens it out. The same way that a flash will flatten things out. I've got a light on here for this for my phone right now, and it should be filling in with the dark circles under my face. But the point is, it flattens the face, and that's fine for what I'm doing here. But I don't want that on this. I want more dimension as possible. Okay, so I have the proportion, but what I was saying is that I'm going to have to hang my light from somewhere. Maybe I can hang it from the back of this easel, as long as I know that I'm not going to move the easel and nothing's going to be moved here at all. So now, I want to think about this other stuff right now, and look at what I found. This is a gift from my neighbors. It's a little puppy dog, because I love Gregory da Pisa, my landlord's little dog. And of course I have my dog who will never leave my brain or my heart. So I found this. This was actually my first idea. Do you know what these are? These are chestnut seed pods. They are spiky little porcupine things. I saved them because I thought they were cool to do some paintings. Now I did do some chestnut paintings last year for a festival. But I had actually thought to have this, and these are very small, these chestnuts here. They're also quite dry. But I have these little chestnuts. I had actually thought that I could put that in here as part of a fall composition with these. But I'm starting to think I really like the green now because it's got such a bright color. So I save all kinds of stuff. If you could see the rest of this room, it's all got pussy willow and various things that I find in nature that I think that dry well and that make good stick compositions. But mainly I was looking down here because I want to cover this so that whatever's in my shelf here doesn't distract me. So I'm just going to take a simple piece of black paper and lift this up. Oh no, that is a table there. Oh no, is it? Oh, okay, the table is tucked. This is one of those kitchen things. It's got a ledge here. So what I'm going to do is just tuck this up underneath, if I can. Why is it not going up? Alright, I don't know what's the deal with that. Maybe I'm not strong enough. Oh, I know what. I've got this board here that has a sculpture I did. I'm saving the original in clay. So maybe I can move this over this way, because that's blocking it from going up. And the table, this little stand that an artist gave me is pretty wobbly, but I don't need much more than this. So let's see if I can get that up, stuck up in there. It's just, I could pretend that it's a solid colored background underneath here, but sometimes stuff like that gets distracting. And so I want to minimize all the distractions. Oh, because I have another tabletop in case I didn't like this wood one. So they're just sort of sitting on there. So anyway, and I don't, like I said, I don't need to be precise on this, but I want to try to center that. Okay, so do you see how I've just simplified the background there? Now, one of the reasons I put the camera over there is because when I was standing over that way, I was looking at this and I thought that's kind of interesting with the green cloth going in front of the pumpkin instead of showing the entire pumpkin, okay? I want some of this hidden, I think, a little bit, but I don't really know, you know, I don't know what I'm doing. So, anyway, I'm going to play with this. This is sort of the traditional thing that I learned to do when I was doing the still life stuff. It's just kind of a nice little feeling in front of you. But I don't know. I want to sort of look at these things. The other thing is I want to look from this way to this way. I don't necessarily want a diagonal from this point of view going up to the candle, especially if I end up burning this to make this proportion different from this. If I put the candle down here, I may or may not want that. So anyhow, I want to think about those sorts of things. And I probably should think about the lighting at first, but I'm kind of thinking I want to get the ideas first about this. So, as in painting, I want to stand back, take a look at it. Now, I've got my easel here, so my point of view is going to be back there about 2 meters at least, maybe more. Yeah, I hope they have that space to back up. And, okay, so for right now, let's just, oh, I've got some wax or something on that. Okay. Anyway, I'm going to play with this for right now as I just sort of set it down. I really like this little guy, so I want to gear with that. What I don't like is how much this is so much green. So I've got my little cutters here. The part of the branch that I really love is this part with the seeds, the acorns on it. So I'm going to cut this, but I kind of do like this coming up to the back. But I don't know, maybe I don't want a flow-through line. A flow-through line means it's going from this object, and the visual line that I see is sort of an S-curve. And since I want it to be cropped here, I may not even show all of the pumpkin here. But I don't want things too centered, you know, I don't want right down this will be on that half, that's on that half, this is not. So a lot of that's going to depend on what I'm doing. So right now, because here's another thing, I don't want to paint this. I know, I've seen so many artworks of people doing these amazing paintings, and I just sometimes look at them, and I've even done a few myself, that I think if I had to paint that, I would go nuts. And I can tell you, when I drew this one time in charcoal, I thought I was going to go nuts because I got confused about which finger I was on a lot, and I had to step back and go, what am I doing? And this, it's pretty as a bunch and stuff. Maybe it looked good in a flower arrangement, but I don't want to paint this much. These are kind of interesting because they're different. So right now I kind of like this little branch here, and I like this, but I want to simplify it a lot. So, and you know what my mother used to say when my brothers and I were little, if we would say so, she'd do the sew buttons on your underwear. so. Anyway, this stuff you remember. Okay, let's set that aside for now. That's pretty. Is it still too much? Maybe. Let's pop off this little baby. It's kind of fun. Alright. So I do like the idea of these coming forward. I'm not sure I like this one branch because it's hiding some of the acorns, and maybe that's appealing, maybe it's not. But some part of me, I kind of like this little baby flipping up also because he's a light green. So let me go in here and do some surgery and take off this little leaf here. And, you know, I don't know. That's one of the things is sometimes when you do grapes and stuff, you can separate, have the cluster here and then have one near the edge rolling off and stuff like that. So I've done that too. So I like the idea of this coming forward to me because it gives me also an opportunity for shadow. And let's get rid of this guy. I like this one leaf going off here and this one coming right at me. There's a lot of opportunity for perspective in other kinds of drawings. So let me stand back and take a look. Okay, so after a lot of finding things and trying to figure stuff out, I had to get an extension cord here. I'm trying to install the light, and I decided that the logical place to start with light source is at the top of the candle. Is it leaning forward, or maybe it's just the point of view? So anyway, this is the light that I was going to use, and it turns out one of the things you want to do before you ever install a lighting system is to make sure that it works, okay? You can see how yellow this light is, I hope. And I think that's going to be to my benefit because it's a nice warm light and it's not super strong like a lot of other lights are. I burnt out my regular painting light, and so now I'm just trying to use up bulbs that I have because I have way too much stuff. I tend to buy a lot of things and also just hoard a lot of things because you never know when you're going to need something. But anyway, okay, so I put this is a drawing board that just has an old piece of black paper on it because I wanted a more of a dark background, and the white wall was just going to bounce light around and make things confusing. So then I had to come up with, I'm on a footstool right now, you can't see that. Then I had to come up with, how am I going to hang this? Because I had a C-clamp here that I thought, oh, that'll be perfect. I'll put it right up under the wood castagna. But it is probably just a sliver too small. I can't get it on this one or on this one. And the other clamp that I had was too large, but it was one of those click kinds. I mean, this, I have total control over the thickness of it. But the click kind, I couldn't get it to go another notch, and so it wasn't strong enough to hold. It didn't have a good hold. This is a much better design. Oh, the other one's over there, but it doesn't matter. It wasn't a strong one. This is a nice metal one, so I knew if I got a good grip, it would be strong. So that was blowing that idea. But I then removed my drawing of Dana, pastel on a black paper. I don't know if you noticed it in the other video, but that gave me this hook here to use. So this little contraption's kind of cool. It's got a hole right here, and so I was able to put that on there, because if I were to use this clip, the clip is not particularly together at all. You can see a crack of light coming through here, but it's not strong enough to hold on to this, so the hole actually allowed me to do this. Okay, so the first thing I did, I turned it on, and I stood, my point of view is over this way, okay? I just couldn't put the videos in there because I was afraid I was going to stand in front of it. But I'll try to take still shots of this too, because anyway, I wanted to move this around. I want the light to be stable. I don't want it to burn anything. I don't know if this will get hot, but being yellow it probably has a tendency to do. But I wanted to get this closer to the flame. Do you see how it's even changing on the candle here? Oh wait, I forgot the most important thing. I need to turn off the light. So the overhead light is a fluorescent light, and it's rather annoying, but my first problem is to get the lighting on the artwork. The second problem is going to get the lighting on the painting where it doesn't influence what's happening here, okay? Because otherwise I'm going to be chasing my tail and having some weird things going on, and I'm trying to make a believable illusion. Okay, so here, look at where the shadow line is. You see this? From my point of view, all of this is bathed in light, and it's not that interesting, but I love backlighting. And if I put the candle here, I mean, let me take this back off of here, but ideally I'd want the light to be kind of here, wouldn't I? Do you see how it makes sort of the light is different around the candle? The candle gets dark here, but you can see the transparency of the wax light. But it lights it here. I want to throw a little bit of light onto the front of this guy, but not make it so dramatic. So one of the things I did that I can't do, because right now I'm using my phone to film, is I put this up here, and then I put a torch light, like as a secondary light source, to put in a little bit of fill. And it was nice, but I wasn't really sure if it would give the effect that I really wanted. So anyway, going back to this idea, do you see how different that is if this were the flame versus even here? It just changed. It's a lot of dramatic stuff on there. So I wasn't sure that this would work, because I want to basically lay in the painting, and then, and it's just a thought because it's been a long time since I've done anything with a candlelight, but I want to have sort of this pretty much figured out, the shapes and all the basic what's light, what's dark kind of thing. And then when I start the fire on this stuff, that's where I can get all the particular, you know, details and stuff that are going there. So, and anyway, I wanted to rotate this closer and playing. Can you see how that's changing the light here for you? I hope you see. And here, for example, if I have the light too much, do you see that this, I mean, I have a light right now on that camera to put some little bit more light on this, on the scene here, but this is a white light, whereas this is a yellow light. I don't know if that's showing up in either one of the videos that I'm doing. The phone is a vertical, and my Sony is a horizontal video. But if I move this light forward a little bit, I get a wee bit of highlight right on this side here of that pine cone, or the pine cone. Good grief, what's wrong with my vein? Acorn. So it's just one of those things I need to play around with. And it's difficult for me to play around because I need to be standing there and see from that point of view. But I basically want to make sure the backlighting is angled enough. Do you see how it changes when I do that? The shadow of this piece here changes. And how it hits this also changes. So, and it may be that I might want it more forward, but look at how the difference is there. Do you see how flat that sort of makes that? It's not all that particularly interesting. The backlighting is good. Maybe if I even hung it over here, it would be good. See, that's kind of interesting. You got a very dark thing, and yet this light contrast. In fact, I may have to look at that later. Wait. Oh, I had another painting before I hung the Pussy Willow back up there. Let me see if I can just do this and stand back and look, so I know what I'm talking about. Because I don't want to put anything to ruin the house, into the house. Let's see how that's going to go. I'm going to just stand back and look at that. Hang on. It's kind of dramatic in a backwards sort of way. I mean, it's interesting because the light's hitting the pumpkin backlighting, which I love. Then you get the big shadow, and then you get this back in light again. So that's an interesting thing. But I don't know that I like it too much on the background object, so that could be a problem with everything that happens with the light in the back. Ein Moment. Okay, so at this point I don't like the light there, because what am I going to do with a light source there and a light source there? So, but it's just an experiment, because it's your composition, and you should just, at this stage, be open to discovering what interests you. So that's an important thing. So for right now, I'm just going to leave this here. But what I started thinking was, if I could get this light source closer to here, like I said, it might be a good way for me to start to develop the painting. So that got me thinking, I have one hook. Okay, I have that one against the wall. Maybe I could tie something between the two of these and have the light sticking out right here. So what happens, and I'd actually forgotten about that until I started this video. So if I hung that here, I could do the light up here and have this hanging down. Maybe that would work. In fact, it might be the easier solution, because what I was thinking is, I started looking up above this castagna, the chestnut wood beam. There's a brick in between each one of these longer lines, and then the brick is held in place with cement. So I can see, though, well, I could see when I had the big light on, that there's a hole going right through. The brick, the concrete has been, the cement has been put on the top and the bottom. And I saw light going through here, so it made me think, instead of putting a nail hole, you probably can't see that. But anyway, I used this little shish kebab sticky thing to see if I could actually see how I can get that through. I don't know if that'll show in the video there, but it'll go through. So at first I thought I should get some string and just sort of use this point to push the string through. And then I thought, what am I talking about, idiot? Sorry, Dad. I know I'm not supposed to say negative things about myself like that. But he's always telling me, stop being so bad at, don't ever tell anybody you're not a professional. I love that. That's just so nice of him. But anyway, you know, when you're experimenting, you don't always know how it's going to turn out. So, well, so much for that composition. Anyway, I have these two things of armature wire. I thought I actually had a roll of thinner wire that was more malleable, and I thought I would use that first, because armature wire tends to be a little bit more expensive, and I want to use it for sculpture. I don't necessarily want it wrapped out in these weird things and putting kinks in it, because this is a lot easier to use. But I started thinking about the metal would actually be stronger to push through a little hole. So do I want this or do I want this? And I decided that this thinner wire is good, that if I use the thicker wire, and I have actually a thicker one even for doing arms and legs on a big body, that this is what's good to wrap around it to give some tooth to the original pole. So I think I'm going to save this so I don't mangle it up too much, and put that back in my toolbox. And I'm going to use this now to see if I can't push through. But I want it closer to the candle. Now I can't see because it's in the dark, so let's, if I can get that to go. Oh, there you go, that went right through there. So, you know, and like I said, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm pretty famous in my own mind for not destroying the houses that I live in. I mean, seriously, I had all my stuff that could fit in a truck and more when one of my exes decided that he was going to claim he was being generous to me and leave me all of his stuff when he moved away, like furniture and things too. But really what it was is he was just saving himself a lot of work from not having to photograph it, put it on market, add place to sell it, and that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you know, I have benefited from some of that stuff, but really it was a headache for me to move it all. And it really was a convenience for him. So sometimes you just gotta realize people are gonna do what's what's best for them, not always best for you, but not always. There are a lot of great Samaritans in the house. But you know, sometimes it's also good for both, win-win, you know? Alright, so my main idea is to, if I don't go blind, it worked, is to use this hook here. And now I have at least something to work with without damaging. You know, maybe I'll just leave that there because then I don't have to cut the rope at all. Because here's the thing, it kind of, even though I might set this up later to have a real fire and stuff, it really doesn't matter if my background looks crappy. If my brain can work with all this stuff, I put this there because the lighting effect is a big deal. I put the cardboard at the bottom because even though I can imagine just a plain black background, what if I want the shadow of this or the shadow of anything that I would throw over the edge to fall onto a dark surface? This black paper might actually be better sort of as a lighter gray, and the shadow can be even darker. But anyway, for the moment, let's push a little bit more of this through. I'm just going to work on twisting this around and see if I can get this a little tighter here. That's kind of silly, I brought my pliers here. So I want to make this strong enough to hold my piece in place without having a fall. And the pliers are going to help me do that somewhat. And just turn around. I probably could have done that a whole lot tighter. And put that into this, bend this around this curve a bit. Alright. The thing is, gravity's going to take care of that to some degree, isn't it? So, I didn't really do that very tightly. Sometimes I should think more and talk less. So what I'm going to do now is put these two together and twist them around to pull up some slack. This was actually not very well done, but I'm just being lazy right now. So let's see if I can maybe hang this. Add an extension cord. I kind of prefer the wire not to go there, and the wire's not really, the extension cord's not really long enough either. So let's put this up here. And it could be that if once I decide on what I like, I can find a way to secure it better into the position that I want. Probably using a piece of string Well, I thought I had string here. Anyway, using a string to connect it in another way and just kind of do it up like that. So even though this is quite precarious, it gives me a way to experiment and see what's going to work. Now, here's the thing. This light is probably too strong because pretty much every light is going to be too strong. If I want, I could bounce it off here, or I could stick a sheet of paper here. Let's see if I have... These are all bags with things. Don't want to step on my model here, do I? Let's take these things out. I just wanted to show you what I was working on here. So let's put that back in this sort of... This wasn't really set up exactly the way I wanted, because one of the problems, I was so busy doing the zigzag that I put this in line with this, and it was just... I need to go back to my point of view and rearrange things, maybe even pull this in a little bit closer and maybe even overlap stuff, who knows. But I want to not have this dead center of the frame, but I want to also not have this too far out where I end up cropping it out. So there's a lot of stuff like that going on. And maybe I want this inside, so it's a zigzag with this being the outermost, or maybe I don't want the candle to be right up close to the edge of the canvas. So those are things I'm thinking about. And it could be I move this over there and move this over here, you know, that sort of thing. So there's a lot of playing around that can happen with these kind of things, you know. Let's see, put those tools back where they go. Do I like that? I kind of do like that, actually. So, oh, I was going to show you a way to... Hang on. This back is really annoying to me. Oh. Here's a piece of brown paper that I have, for example. Let's see what this kind of does. So if I want a softer light, and you have to be careful, because if you put the paper too close to the light and it's hot, do you see how that dramatically softens it? I would say possibly even too much, but I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of thinking it's a neat kind of coloring, but I think it takes away a lot of the lighting. So let's see if I can get something transparent. But yeah, so maybe like let's see what I have. I have so if you could like this video, if you like it, add your comments, add your questions, critiques, whatever you want. I appreciate the community support, interest kind of thing. Okay, so this is a piece of tracing paper, which is what you normally do when you transfer your design onto something that'll be a finished product. Because a lot of times when you're drawing and stuff, you're working things out, you erase stuff, you do, it's not really a clean copy. You don't necessarily want that on your canvas or on your board, whatever you're painting on. So let's put this up here. Do you see how that softens the light? But it doesn't take it all away, so you get a really nice effect. So that could be one thing that I would do. So anyway, I'm going to stop this video for now and take a few still shots and then think about this, but I also probably need to rest my spine. So thank you for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. Hit the notification bell, and then you'll know when I made a new posting. Okay?